Nice cigarette, nice cigar. I almost said cigarette. Cigar.
What are you, some kind of dummy? What are you doing? This is my beauty sleep. What is it with you? You idiot. You dummy. Shut your mouth.
Shut your pie. I'm cold. I'm cold. Shut the window.
What is this, a meat locker? I'm cold. Shut
Love
the window.
it. Love it. Oh, you knew we were going to bust out those impressions. He was going to bust out the cigar. Still wrapped up in the...
I know. The last time I smelled, it took me 2 fucking days to get the cigar smell out of this basement.
Oh,
the
I'm
last
sure.
time I decided it was a good idea to smoke down here.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I kept
yeah,
it in
yeah.
the freaking wrapper. No.
Probably not a good idea to do that down there.
It
What's
was
happening?
dumb as hell. It was dumb
Yeah.
as hell.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to Batman the Fan-imated stream. I'm, of course, Dave the Film Junkie. With me, as always, Mr. Scott McClellan. How's it going?
It's going. What can I say?
It's going. Yeah.
I'm a
What are you talking about, guys? Yeah. We're going to have a lot of that. We're going to have a lot of that, you know.
My God,
those impressions
this
happening
episode is like all the things that make me happy.
It really is. That's right, guys. We're going to be discussing Read My Lips. That's right.
I wish there was no new taxes, but
yeah,
you
yes. No, I totally just went into a George H.W. Bush impression. You know, I don't know why. Read my lips. And I'm glad you caught that for some reason. It just came out. I don't know why. Wow. That, you know what that was pulled from? It wasn't like it was pulled from me watching that. It was pulled from Hot Shots. There's a part in Hot Shots where you actually hear that. That's where I pulled that from. There you go, guys. That's where I pulled that. You actually hear that clip when he's like freaking out in the cockpit, and you hear, for some reason, randomly, you just hear, read my lips, no new taxes. But, whew, yeah, that's right. Memory just fired off big time right there. But yes, we're gonna be talking about this. We got Scarface, we got the ventriloquist.
Which, interestingly enough, they never call him by his actual name.
No, like when I took notes, I just called him Dummy. Because typing out ventriloquist, not always easy, you know, it's a longer name. So Dummy, simple, typing fast, just made it easier. So I just called him Dummy.
Yeah, well, I want to take a minute here because, you know, we always love to respect the comics on this show.
Yes.
And so, of course, the character, the first ventriloquist, who this is based on, his name was Arnold Wesker, created in 1988, co-created by John Wagner, Alan Grant, and Norm Brayfogle. And of course, we lost Alan Grant like 2 months ago.
We did.
British comic book writer, but he was running on Detective Comics. I've mentioned this before, that his run on Detective Comics, one of his issues was my very first Batman comic I ever owned. But he was the co-creator of the Ventriloquist and Scarface.
Nice. Well, there you go. There's your little history lesson right here when it comes to, you know, giving respect to the source material. And I mean, it's funny too, because when you have a character like this, I mean, this is another, you know, this is a multiple personality disorder thing. I mean, it's interesting too, because, man, just watching this episode and how it plays out. I mean, of course, the storytelling is just great, and how they approach this whole thing, and how there's some callbacks too that even Batman says.
I know, I caught that too. I was so happy about that.
Okay, we got some connections with you. You know, and it's just interesting because, you know, you got essentially. This is what I love about Batman villains. They're just so unique. This is why Batman has the best villains. You literally have a gangster villain, but it's a fucking puppet. It's a dummy. I mean, and I love how he calls him dummy.
How he calls him dummy.
Yeah. Even though he's a dummy, you know, and it's just like, you got this guy, he's bald, he's got the gray hair, he wears these big glasses, and he's always,
which you can never see the pupils. It's
never
so
see the pupil. Yes.
It's so creepy. By the way, a couple of other things I wanted to point out here. Do you notice, and we could, since we're talking about the character right now, I think it's fun to talk about this now. Yeah. But does Scarface look familiar to you?
He kind of does. There's something about him that does, but I didn't really connect it.
Well, do you know where the name Scarface originally comes from?
Well, I mean, obviously, you always want to go back to the Scarface movies, but I think there's something that goes even further. So what?
Scarface was the nickname for Al Capone.
That's right. There you go.
And if you look at the dummy,
He looks like Al Capone.
It
That's right.
looks
There.
like Al Capone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Obviously, it's designed by that. Yeah. Should have, yeah, totally. Again, brain, whatever, end of the weekend. But yes, but that's good. That's good. Al Capone. We always forget that he had that nickname, and
Because yeah, he had this like
yeah,
I
he
mean
had that big, huge scar, like right
big
across.
huge scar that went down his face. Absolutely.
It's a good little thing.
I also want to point out this episode. While the story was co-written by Michael Reeves and Alan Burnett, the script was written by Joe Lansdale, who Joe Lansdale is I think I do believe he's still with us, a Texas novelist who wrote a lot of horror and mysteries. But as far as Batman the Animated Series is concerned, his first episode he wrote was Perchance to Dream with Mad Hatter. Then he wrote this episode, and then later in season 2, he wrote Showdown.
Okay, which one's Showdown again?
That's the Jonah Hex episode.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, okay. So he liked. Okay, so basically he liked characters that wear hats.
Oh no, wait, he's from Texas, and he
true.
Loves,
oh yeah,
he's
so
from Texas, and he loves this pulp. And he loves this pulp stuff. So we get all the in Showdown we get like the old westerns, and then in this one we get some grade A like pulp noir going on all through.
Oh yeah, right at the beginning, man, with the score. I mean, like you get that jazz really going to really.
Shirley like really went for it in this episode because I mean it was like you had the stand-up bass, you had the snare drum, and then you had that clarinet that would really. I mean, it was so great to hear like not an orchestral score, but like that's really serious, like boom, 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 boom.
You actually had a jazz band there.
You actually had it, right. It was more like a jazz trio at that point because then the orchestra would come in. It was so good.
So good. And, it was Batman Day, of course, on Saturday, which, of course, hopefully you guys watched something Batman. I watched The Batman last night. Fell asleep.
Bat Wheels.
You watched Bat Wheels? Hey, that's something.
Hey, yeah, the first episode dropped. I think yesterday was the day that the first episode dropped.
Well, there you go. I didn't even know when that was dropping. So there you go. Bat Wheels now on HBO Max, right?
HBO Max and on Cartoon Network.
Nice.
But I have to tell one thing that just golf clap. So the bat vehicles get brought to life.
Yeah.
Well, the villain vehicles get brought to life too. And you want to know what they call the team up of the villain vehicles?
What?
I'm sorry, it made me smile. The Legion of Zoom.
There it is. I was thinking, I was like, how do you make Legion of Doom into something? Yeah, the Legion of Zoom. Nice.
I'm sorry. It's the 6-year-old
gave you a little tickle. Gave you a little tickle.
Yeah, he gave me a little tickle. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, but yeah, it was Batman Day, and you retweeted something, and then I immediately retweeted. But yeah, of actually Shirley Walker on the.
Well, that was a show. That was Christopher.
I know that wasn't him, but it was surely like it was like the actual
score.
The score, and hearing the score and doing all that, and I thought that was like wow, that was just something pretty magical when I saw that on there and just listened to it. I blasted it too yesterday. I was like, holy shit, just hearing the score on the piano like that was just like, oh, it was just
and have
really
a musician explain musically what it's doing is like, oh yes.
Yeah, that's why we love this damn score so damn much. So but again, it starts off with just that jazz, starts off with a boxing match. I mean,
that's just so like film noir, like 40, like a boxing
right away.
match.
Yeah, got two guys just going at it. I mean, animation's great in this episode too. I mean, even when the boxers are going, you got like the dude like the black eye, and just everything, and they're just going back and forth. And I love the transition when they're like, they're flapping like the program, and then it turns into money, like goes right into the money.
And I listened. This is an episode that had a commentary track on it, and they talked about those. That was all the storyboard artists came up with those ideas of those transitions. And I'm just like, because it was beautiful.
I just love those transitions, the way they do it like that. But yeah, so basically, it's behind the scenes, you got all this money flowing. So you got some guards coming in to like take the money that was basically, I don't know, won or what the tickets.
No, it's the gate. It was from the gate. So yeah.
So, and then of course a heist happens, and you know what? I mean, there's like some good heist. It's like a good opening heist kind of little thing that we've seen that we get here, you know, with Scarface's goons. Of course, you got one who's really, really big. We got Rhino, who's in this very huge guy.
Oh, by the way, I have
guy.
a story about who voices Rhino.
Oh, nice. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
there's some voice talk to talk about in this episode.
Uh-huh.
So the voice of Rhino, and we don't actually hear him speak until later, is Earl Bowen.
Earl Bowen. That's a strong name.
Do you know who it is?
No.
It's the psychiatrist from the Terminator movies.
No shit.
Yes.
Because I was like that name did kind of ring a little bit about. No shit, that is him.
That's him.
Really?
Totally playing against type. because
I am blown away right now. Wow, that's him, Dr. Silverman. Jesus Christ, holy crap! I would not have guessed that in a million tries that was him. Holy shit, you just blew my mind.
That's what I'm here for. I mean, I knew it. As soon as I figured that out, I was like, "Oh, Dave is gonna lose it tonight."
Yeah, because I try not to look unless I recognize it. You know, like your Tom Matheson or whatever the hell you're like, or you know, whoever. Like, if it sounds familiar, cool. I can probably pinpoint it, but I would not have guessed that. Now I kind of I want to go back and listen to see if I could hear a little bit of his voice.
He's totally putting on a voice, like he's totally.
Wow, that is crazy, man. I'm mind blown, guys. Mind blown. But yeah, so they're trying to transfer the money, and of course, a heist happens, which I mean, it's pretty legit. Like heist, they have to they of course just turn off the power. They grab the bags, beat everybody up, and then they have to go up to the roof through a vent using spikes on their feet and or on their hands at least. And I love how
their feet,
was it also their feet? Yeah,
it was also their feet. Yeah.
Basically Spider-Man your way up this vent. And I love how Rhino, since he's so big, he just has one of the guys on his shoulders.
Yes.
Hey, save some spikes. You know, the guy, he's probably the smallest guy in the crew.
He was the smallest guy.
He's the smallest guy in the crew. So why not let the other two do the climbing and let Rhino, just right on his shoulders, which I thought was pretty cool. But of course they go to the roof. But man, do they just hey, you just got this truck that just comes in. It's got some mattresses. There you go. Don't even think
jump
twice.
13 stories, no problem. Why not?
Especially with somebody like Rhino, that thing would have freaking just went kakoosh. The suspension of that would have just went.
That truck was gone. No,
yeah. There's no way. But hey,
by the way, I looked at the marquee. And I don't think this is intentional at all. But me being the DC Comics nerd, my brain couldn't help but fire. Because we just watched a boxing match. We don't see the last name of this boxer. But the marquee calls him Mad Dog Ted. And of course, all I can think of is Ted Grant, Wildcat from the JSA, who was a boxer. Actually taught Batman how to box. So I'm just my brain is
I'm pretty sure you're probably right on the money, though. I mean, that sounds the way that you just explained that. There's no way that was a coincidence. They're just I put that. No. I think you nailed it right there. There's no way that they didn't. That was a coincidence. That's pretty awesome, though.
Yeah, it's just it's my brain. My brain fires
your
like that.
Brain went off, so you started, taking the yarn, and you started just
I Charlie Dayed it so.
Oh, you Charlie Dayed it. No, that's awesome right there. Yeah, there's no way. That's too. No. If he's a boxer, no, there's no way that was any kind of coincidence at all. But yeah, so and then of course they get away, and then of course they get to a mannequin warehouse, which is creepy. Anytime there's a mannequin warehouse, creepy. My God, it's just always a creepy vibe to it because you have all these parts and just lifeless bodies.
Apparently, it's an homage to, and I haven't watched this movie yet. Tim and I are going to do it eventually on Squadcast Movies, but apparently it's an homage to one of Stanley Kubrick's, not his very first movie, but his second movie. Was called The Killers, and it was a black and white heist gangster kind of movie. And apparently there's according to the commentary, it was some kind of homage to that film.
Really? Wow. Yeah. I don't think I've ever even heard of that movie.
I've heard of it was it The Kill? No, it wasn't The Kill. I don't know. There's a movie called The Killers that's based on a Hemingway story, and then there's The Killing. And now I'm getting
I think
it.
it's kind of mixed up. Yeah. Maybe it's because I don't know. The Killing is like kind of ringing in my brain. Maybe I have heard of that. That sounds familiar. That does sound, I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, it's always a creepy vibe. And then, of course, we get introduced to Scarface and the ventriloquist. And then, of course, they do that really cool, like, newspaper montage because they're pulling off heists. So, of course, you're going to get like that, which is all that old. I mean, it always reminds me of like a Dick Tracy kind of vibe.
Yeah. By the way, did you hear this? The music while the newspapers are spinning?
What was the music? Yeah.
No, Shirley Walker, it was intentionally homaging the Batman 66, transition thing, like when they would spin.
So they're trying to yeah. Wow. I didn't even put that together. Wow.
That was an intentional homage to Batman 66 right there.
That's so cool. Man, this episode's just like we're not even like we're like what 3 minutes into like the episode. Or like, and we're just there's just so much that's behind this. This is why it's one of the good ones. One of the top tier. That's right. One of the top tier. But then of course we get to Gordon. I love Gordon's line right here when, he's just like doing his thing at his desk and he's like,
did you see Batman come in from the window?
Yes. The way that because like the curtains.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden the cape goes right with it. Like, again, another just great animation transition kind of thing where it's like you have like the curtains blowing in the wind and then all of a sudden when they blow back and then the cape comes, I'm like, just come on right there.
Have a heart for an old man's blood pressure.
Exactly, because it's like, yeah, dude, it's like you're sneaking up on him all the time, scaring the shit out of him. I mean, one of these days he's gonna go and just grab his chest. You don't want to be part of that, Bats. You got to relax a little bit. Knock on something. I don't know. Just do anything. But of course, that's not Batman's way. But yeah. So then, of course, they have their exchange talking about it, and then Gordon gives him like a security tape that he found.
No, it was a security tape. He called it a home video enthusiast.
That's right. He did. Oh.
Because remember last week we were marveling at the fact that he had like a CD-ROM.
Yeah.
And then this week, here's the VHS we were talking about.
Yeah, I went back. I know. We were impressed by the fact that there was actually a CD shown in this Batman world because it's been tapes this whole time. Big, huge honking tapes that they've been injecting into the Bat computer and everywhere else. But we had like an actual CD show up and we thought, oh yeah, it's probably like a CD-ROM kind of thing of testing, of course, that weapon that Mr. Maxi Zeus was, that he stole over there. Hopefully Maxi Zeus is doing fine, by the way. Maybe him and the ventriloquist can eventually, realize like, hey, what's going on with our head?
What's going on up here?
We're kind of effed up here. I think the ventriloquist a little bit more because it's taken on a whole life of its own. Jesus,
literally taking on a life of its own.
Oh man, I tell you what. But yeah, so obviously, when we watch it at the Bat Cave, in the Bat computer.
By the way, another little tidbit here. It never occurred to me, but Shirley Walker was on this commentary and she mentioned, do you notice every time, unless it's some big action moment that happens later, every time we just walk into the Batcave, guess what you never hear?
What?
Score.
You don't. You always hear the you hear the
you know what that is? You know what that is? They went to Hoover Dam and recorded the ambient noises for the Batcave. Yes.
Holy shit. Yes, because you always hear the and you hear that's all you hear. You never wow. Jesus Christ, episode 64, which is what is it called? What is that term?
An ultimate episode.
The ultimate episode. Yeah. Like, no, there's so much packed into this that we just like, wow. I didn't even think about that. Because every time you go into the Batcave, you never did, but you hear that ambiance of like what a Batcave would sound like, and you just hear the bats. But I did that. They recorded that at Hoover Dam. That's crazy. Yes. Wow. That's amazing. I love that. Jeez. It's just, yeah, wow. Episode 64, guys. This is awesome. I love this. But of course, yeah, we see them, of course, escaping from like outside of the whole thing. And then, of course, just, conveniently, because Rhino's a big dude, try to get through like a hole in the fence. Something's going to get snagged. And his shirt gets snagged, gets ripped, and then reveals a Rhino tattoo.
But I also love how Batman like zooms in on it, like grid by grid. It feels a little bit like Blade Runner. It's like
a little bit.
Go to section.
Yeah.
Do.
Yeah, right in there before they realized that computers wouldn't be like that in the future. That's what I love about those whole, like, when you watch movies when they were like trying to guess what our technology would be like. Man,
they were so wrong.
They had some things right, but man, when it came to video technology, I guess they were totally off. They were totally off. Which is funny though, which is great. And then all of a sudden, when it got into like the 90s, into the 2000s, they started getting things right. They started really getting, oh yeah, there'll be touch screen and it'll be like this and blah blah blah, and God knows what we'll have exactly. But anyways, so obviously it zooms in. So then we get Rhino, who's like basically just walking around, reading a newspaper, looking at, or he's probably about. What exactly was he doing?
It was racing. It was the racing forms.
Yeah. So he was going to be betting on.
He was going to be betting on probably the horses, probably.
Yeah. So then, of course, Batman shows up, and yes, Rhino is just so huge. He's distinctively like just a big, huge dude. He even towers over Batman.
Well, and I love that because they do those great camera angles where every time you're like behind Batman, it's always an up shot.
Yeah.
And every time you're behind Rhino, it's a down shot. Yeah.
So you really get the size difference between these two people. But at the same time, it's like, well, Batman just uses that as advantage because Rhino starts charging him, and it's like, well, this is a big dude. I'm just going to step out of the way and use my technique of just like, hey, or I'll jump above you and then do that whole thing, and he's just crashing into, of course, trash cans and whatever the hell.
How about you use that head for something other than a blunt instrument?
It's so good. It was a good line right there. Really love that. And then I love it when the cops like show up and Batman's like, all right, pink, I'm out of here. You deal with that. I just love how like because Rhino just turns and sees the cops, and Batman just goes, he just grapples out of there. He's like, all right, cops are here. I've done my thing,
And the fun thing is that the guy who's the voice of one of the cops, I know that voice so well because he's the voice of a cop in Mask of the Phantasm.
Oh, wow.
And his voice was in the trailer. So because when we talk about Mask of the Phantasm and when the cops are like chasing Batman in that one big scene, there's like a guy in a bullhorn, and his voice we got him, and they use that line in the trailer. And so it's the same guy who's the voice of the cop in this episode.
I think I remember that trailer too. Yeah. All that's like ringing true in my head right now. But even it's not like he got arrested or anything like that. But obviously, when he continues on, when he's like, when Rhino is leaving, Batman's still trailing him to the, of course, the mannequin factory or whatever, and
whatever that creepy little hideout is,
whatever that is, and then it's funny too because you start seeing like when it comes to, it's interesting because you have somebody like Rhino, this big, huge honking dude. He's so nervous talking to a puppet, like he's sweating bullets, he's holding his hat, doing that whole thing, like
I know, and that is so amazing to me because like I love the setup for that because he's like, I gotta talk to the boss, I gotta talk to the boss, and it's and two of those guys are like bought in, like completely, because when Arnold, once again, they never call him Arnold in the episode, but we know what his real name is. But when Arnold goes up, it's like, I'm sorry, Mr. Scarface. I'm trying to get my beauty sleep. What are you doing? And he comes out, and those two guys who are like veterans on the crew, like treat the dummy with so much respect and fear.
But they have one guy who's new.
And he talks to the ventriloquist.
Yes. So he's like, he's us. He's us because we're just kind of going like, what the fuck? Like
do you see
why?
Batman's face when he walks in? He's just like,
He's like, what the hell? Yeah, that shocked little go to commercial break, like, it's suspense cliffhanger. Cause it's just like he walks out and he's like, doing the whole thing. And he's just like, I was expecting some guy like dressed to the nines and being like this gangster dude, this new cat here. And it's a fucking puppet. It's like, what? And he's just like, huh? Like what? Like just in pure shock. And it's a good good time for that commercial break, which was great.
But of course, this is a great opportunity to mention, and I've brought this up before, but George Zunza, who's the voice of both the Ventriloquist and Scarface, who we've heard before because he was G. Carl Francis in The Laughing Fish.
That's right. I think you mentioned something about that
last week. Because once again, George Zunza, like I said, he showed up as G. Carl Francis in The Laughing Fish. He plays every appearance as Scarface and the Ventriloquist. And then, like I've said before, he'll show up later as Perry White in Superman the Animated Series. And then he also plays forgot what the doctor's name is, but the doctor who teams up with Mr. Freeze in the Sub-Zero movie that we'll watch after season 2. So they kept on using George Zunza because, he was in the first season of Law and Order as one of the cops. So what a great performance, because how he goes up he's up here
and then he just does this here, and he goes, I mean, that's voice acting. That's why that's what I love about voice actors. And that's why I wish that when it comes to some of these movies, can you hire the talent as opposed to the name and spending millions and millions and millions of dollars when there's so many talented people out there, and it always reminds me of I remember I think I read a story where when it comes to animation, Robin Williams in Aladdin, that was something relatively new to have a name be in voice acting in this big, huge Disney production. And I think he was like, don't put my name on the freaking poster. Don't do that. Don't take away from the other people and all this stuff because Robin Williams knows. I mean, obviously he knows. He probably has many. He was when that time happened. It's that's what I hate nowadays. We've talked about it when it came to DC Super Pets. I'm like, I just hear Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and it's like, can we actually get some voice talent in here? And this is what I'm talking about when it comes to voice talent. Somebody who's actually, because that's what's so great. Some people might think oh, the Ventriloquist is one guy, Scarface is another, but it's like, no, it's the same guy, just in the story, it's the same guy, so it actually adds to, it's there's just something that just adds to it that makes this whole performance better.
Well, and it's funny too, because Bruce Timm was on that commentary and he said he actually got into a debate with DC Comics when it came to this episode, because in the original Ventriloquist in the comics was actually written as not a good ventriloquist. So when Scarface talks, they would write his dialogue as Scarface, as if the guy really is talking out of the side of his mouth. So certain they would write it so certain letters weren't pronounced correctly, because what it would sound like if you were talking out of the side of your mouth. And they got into a kind of a little scuffle with DC Comics about, no, we want him to actually be a good ventriloquist. We want it for the performance.
You want to sell it to, instill fear into the goons, and to just be and Batman going, what the actual fuck is happening here? So no, I mean, I get that, because if it was shoddy, it wouldn't work as well, because if you're watching this episode fresh, you're kind of going oh, wait a minute. The doll really, I mean, and even they sell it too, because
they sell it so hard.
And there's even a second mention of blood pressure too, from talking about Arnold and stuff like that. He's got high blood pressure. Obviously, he's a nervous wreck all the time. But then and it's just funny too, because the new, like I said, the new guy's going, wait, guys, what are we doing here? But the other guys that like you said, they've been sold what is happening here, and they are nervous talking to a puppet. Even Rhino, one of the biggest dudes ever. But then, of course, when we get Batman sneaking into Scarface's room, it's almost like a thing where it's if you're again watching this fresh, is the puppet alive? Because he's sleeping.
Get goosebumps, Night of the Living Dummy.
Yes, goosebumps. Yes, yeah. Good old what is his name?
R.L. Stein.
Yeah, no. I'm talking about what was the
The
dummy's
dummy's name?
Scrappy,
Slappy.
Sappy,
Slappy.
Slappy. That's what it was. It was one of those. Yes. Oh yeah, Night of the Living Dummy. Oh yeah. I yeah, and then of course, and it was funny too because I remember the Goosebumps movie that came out. Did not think it was going to be good. Really enjoyed that. Really actually enjoyed that with Jack Black.
Yeah, I need to go back and rewatch that because I unfortunately saw that on a field trip with the entire middle school I was teaching at the time. Yeah, 1,200 middle schoolers ruined any kind of viewing experience of that movie.
Yeah, rewatch it. It's actually a pretty little fun movie. Like I read
all those books.
Goosebumps that was my thing. Like my bookshelf was Goosebumps. I had some Fear Street in there. I mean, I was all about R.L. Stine. And so when it came to that, like I was actually going, oh, this movie's gonna suck. And I actually really enjoyed it. But yeah, Night of the Living Dummy. That's what we're referring to here, folks. But yeah, he goes in there, and then when he it's literally you have Scarface in there. He's like all tucked in nicely. His eyes are closed, and then when Batman just kind of like taps it, his eyes open. He's like, I mean, it's a little freaky because it's like, is this thing like, oh, what is going on here? But of course, nothing, no talk, no nothing. So he goes, okay, and then he just kind of closes the eyes again because freaky. Even Batman gets a little freaked out, And
then Arnold walks in and he's sweating bullets, man.
Oh, dude, he's a nervous wreck, man. Just an absolute nervous wreck. And then, of course, Batman pulls him into like the other room and just kind of like just starts. And then all of a sudden we started getting, hey, dummy! We started hearing Scarface
throwing his voice into the other room. I mean,
that's crazy. I mean, there's some talent into that, I guess. But it's just funny because you're still kind of going like, again, watching this episode fresh, you're kind of going, what? What is happening here?
I know, and it's so weird because now, like, I've watched like Jeff Dunham's, routines.
Yes, which
he's so good, and so it's like you do realize that. No, people like legitimately can do shit like this. Like,
oh yeah, when he does the jalapeno on a stick and
the jalapeno on a stick.
Yeah, but there's been times where he's thrown his voice into a case where you actually hear it. It sounds like it's coming out of the case, and it was like, damn, how did he do that? It's like there's just some way that they just adjust the octave to come out. It sounds like it's like in a distance, with something that's
with an echo. And it's like, what the hell?
Like, how is that even? Yeah, I know. It's a talent, which of course, obviously when Batman, of course, puts a bug on his suit to be like, hey, what the hell is going on here? But again, you're watching this and you're just like, well, wait a minute, like, what's really happening here? But then, of course, so when it comes to Arnold, basically just like kind of just going like, he doesn't know the operation, even though like Batman's
doesn't know, like,
he doesn't know anything. He's just
completely he does have dissociative identity disorder. It is a completely partitioned personality in his psyche. He does not have memories or knowledge of what the Scarface psyche is doing. Exactly. And the same way that Scarface knows nothing about what Arnold's doing.
Yeah, because he doesn't know about that Arnold talked to Batman or something like that. And then it was just like, so then when it came to, obviously we get multiple personality syndrome and everything. And like, even the Bat computer doesn't even was like confused. Like, this is two distinct voices. Alfred's like, that sounds like two voices and all this stuff. And he just kind of talk. And then he talks about, who does he talk about?
Natara.
Oh, yes. Referring back to that Zatanna episode where we got the flashbacks and how he was learning how to escape and all this stuff. And so essentially it was just like, throwing their voice. He goes like, yeah, when he worked with that, it's like he learned. So it's like, all right.
I know. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's like, all right. So does Batman know how to do it? Well,
of course he's Batman.
Of course. He knows how to do all of that. And I love how Alfred, just like a little quip going like, you've had, talking about the villains that Batman has faced. And he's just like, this one takes the biscuit, not the cake, but the biscuit. That's right. Yeah. The biscuit. So then, and then this was like kind of almost like it's a little bit, I mean, we don't know that the Scarface knows about the little bug that he's trying to set up Batman. But it was almost like, again, it just reminded me of the Dick Tracy movie when they find like the fact that the microphone and they're listening. So it's like, all right, let's plan a heist to trap somebody in here. So they basically do that because he's explaining like a whole new heist. And then, of course, one goon is like, well, wait a minute, what are we doing? It's the new guy, of course. And Scarface just like, gives him the business and everything. So, and then he calls it like, I had a premonition or something like that.
What do you call it? One of those premonitions. Premonition. That's what I said, you dummy.
Yeah. He gets so defensive on how he pronounces things. And then, of course, he mentions that he smells like a little double cross that's happening. So, of course, it's at the harbor. And I guess they have like a hose with like acid that kind of just melted like a.
Yes. By the way, total animation goof up happens right here.
Does it? I didn't see it.
Oh, yeah. After they burn the hole in the side of the ship and they start to climb out of their little motorboat into the luxury liner, there's already platinum bars drawn, like they've already
unloaded. In the boat,
yes.
Oops. Yeah, that's right. Ooh, that's right. Because they're not stealing gold bars; they're stealing platinum bars.
Yeah, but when they pull to the ship,
I didn't see that. I didn't see it.
when they burn the hole to climb in, suddenly the bars are already there, like they've already been unloading, and it's just like, ooh, somebody missed something right.
Somebody messed up on that one a little bit, but hey, it happens. It happens. And then of course Batman shows up, and man, Batman, he gets Rhino just pushes that whole stack of platinum bars.
Oh, that would have killed Batman so hard.
Oh yeah, yeah, he would have been done for, because that's those things are. And they're super freaking heavy. I mean, there's no way. But hey, Batman's tough. Batman's tough. And I love how they show they always do like the hand thing, and then of course pass out. You wake up, and now you're strapped to the ceiling of the warehouse. And talk about fucking creepy. You have the mannequins with sharp fingernails that are sticking out. I'm like, wow, that's like horrific right there.
You tell me what's going to happen, or you get the ultimate massage.
That's the ultimate.
And what if I do tell you? Then maybe you just get run over by a truck.
It's a good exchange. It's a great exchange right there. But then, of course, Scarface explains that look what I found right here. Basically just down on that they found the. And then I love this too, because he drops you know exactly what I'm talking about right now. Yes. Because he drops the little, the little bug or whatever, and he has to stomp on it. So of course, being that he's being held up, Arnold has to get down and just kind of go like help him, like, scratch down and smash the thing to make a statement. But it's so weird and awkward. I love it though.
Oh no, there's another moment that comes awkward even later that I'm going to talk about.
Oh yeah.
Oh, but
I might know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but I mean, I love it how like Scarface still smells a double cross, and Batman calls out Arnold as it was the ventriloquist. Yeah. And then Batman starts doing a little ventriloquism himself, but you can see his lips move.
Oh, yeah. They have to make it known that he's now throwing a voice, because now he's like basically doing Arnold's voice. Because we all know that Batman's a good impressionist. We all know this. When he gets into disguise, he knows how to, that's one of the talents that doesn't get recognized enough when it comes to Batman and the animated series, is the fact that Bruce, not only is he strong and, he can do all
leg day.
Yes. Yeah, leg day, strong thighs, all that stuff. But man, the man can do impressions of his villains. That's for damn sure. And he does this.
It was a big rock.
It was a big rock. I threw a rock at him. I mean, he's good. He's good. I just want to see those. I want to see those moments where he's like practicing in front of the mirror, and Alfred's going, maybe not, maybe add a little bit more to that, sir, or something like that. He's testing in front of Alfred. Those are the scenes I want to see.
Oh my God, the outtakes. I want those outtakes now.
Yes, because he's got to practice somehow. But he starts throwing his voice, and then of course when it comes to like I said, he was basically make it seem like Arnold, he's the one that's double crossing you. And then this is the clip I wanted to like start off with, because it's like, all right, so now he wants the goons to smoke Arnold, but it's like, but then they're like, well, wait a minute, we can't.
Like, even the goons go, boss.
Yeah, and this is where exactly, I mean, look at this look on their faces right here, because I paused it at the perfect moment, because they are like, huh? Like, you want us
like
to
that?
do
That's
what?
what the guys who was sold, and even he's like, dude,
Yeah. Like, we've been with you. We've been with you all the way to this moment, sir. You know, I just look at that. They're both like, we can't do that, or else you can't be anything. I'm like, but yeah, here's this scene right here.
Yeah, but boss,
but boss,
you know, you're surrounded by traitors.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. You want something done?
Watch this.
Yeah.
Arnold
Yes.
points the gun.
I know. Crazy.
Spare me, Scarface, please. I've always been loyal to you.
Oh my god, this is so
Go
fucked
ahead,
up.
So weird.
beg. It ain't gonna
But it's
do
so
you no
cool.
good. You lunch meat, you lousy no.
Ah.
I'm hit, boys.
I'm hit, boys.
Swinging bats, take him out.
Also, how stupid is it to try to shoot a Tommy gun that close at range? I mean, that's
Right.
not how those things work. I'm sorry.
Oh. Huh?
Oh, and the palm.
No problem.
Palm. He got a palm to the face right there. There we go. There's that jazz. So good.
Oh, I love how like Batman tries to do like a good old boxing move and like,
Didn't work.
Too damn big. Oh, look at that! Come on, left,
He's trying.
right. So huge.
There you go. We got him. Got him. A little bit. And look, Arnold's still like, he's still holding him up.
I know. It's like throw him off the hand.
Yes. Then it eventually does happen. Ouch.
Ouch.
That's a knockout blow right there.
Oh, and this moment coming up.
This moment right here. This is what, like, I mean, God, this is yeah. Look at that shot right there. It's such a beautiful shot.
Oh man, the wax
It
focus.
starts going, and then bam, 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 bam. Oh no! And he realized he effed up too. Take a batarang to the face right there. But yeah,
Oh,
I know. And then this right here.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, he's crying over a dummy.
Yes. Crazy. But I mean, it just shows you. And then, of course, yes, we get to Arkham Asylum.
Oh my god! But Bruce Timm laughed about that moment so hard. He was like, "What standards and practices going to say we're shooting up a dummy?"
That's why they could have done it, and that's why it looked all like that was such a beautiful little
They called
shot.
it the Sam Peckinpah moment, where he was like,
Blah, blah, blah. And then you got Arnold going, "Oh no!" You know, I mean, it was just a good, like, it's just a good little shot when it comes to that. But yeah, of course, naturally, shocker. Yes, of course, Arnold's going to go to Arkham Asylum because, well,
eat cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
he's a little bit, one flew over the cuckoo's nest. Yes. So, but you know, they talk about, you hear like some, some of the doctors or the people that work there talk about, oh yeah, he's taking, his
By the
medication.
way, that doctor shows up in Mask of the Phantasm. He's at the hospital.
Nice. I mean,
these character models. Like, it's the point. There's like, I know that character model.
You just recognize, you're totally just Leo DiCaprio. Just up there it is. But they're talking about like how he's basically taken to the medication. He's good and stuff like that. But he's in the wood shop. It's like,
right? Mm-hmm.
But of course he is, because then it's a cool scene. But it's like, why would you have this dude in the wood shop? But at the same time, it makes for the nice little ending where obviously he's crafting, and I love how like he turns it around and you see Scarface's face, and then he goes boom, and he just goes to make that scar right into the cheek, and it's like,
well, that's like that Twilight Zone horror movie, like Sam Raimi kind of ending to an episode. It's just like,
such a good little, like the way they end it. You know, it's like doesn't make sense that he's in the wood shop because you probably wouldn't want this guy.
Oh, come on. We've seen them We've seen them wearing their costumes at Arkham Asylum. I mean, this place is not the best.
But it was perfect for that ending. Just the fact that it was like with the score and everything, and it's like the reveal and then the just like, oh, good stuff. Just fucking good stuff, man.
Oh, this is a good episode. This is an underappreciated episode. This is an
Really
episode that people don't talk about a lot.
No, like when you talk about the top tier ones, this one kind of gets left off, but it should be up there because, you know, just a different, you know, just the psychology of it first off, and even correlating that to Batman psychology. I mean, you know, again, we talk about that all the time. We talked about that last week with Maxie Zeus and the breaking of the brain and the fact that it's like, you know, this guy was like a successful person, and then all of a sudden he just he full on went into the character. When it comes to Arnold, it's like his mind broke, but it broke into two. Like it didn't just fully just get engorged by like, oh, well, now I'm Scarface. No, he's still very much him. And Scarface is now another personality that I wear on my hands, which is just bonkers. It's bonkers, but it's so great. Yeah, because you better believe, I mean, like, you know, when we were talking about Jeff Dunham, and I think somebody said they saw him twice. I've actually seen him live once, and it was absolutely fantastic. But you better believe that, I mean, like, it's not like, you know, I'm not saying Jeff Dunham has multiple personalities, but in a way, you have to create these characters. I mean, I don't know how he can do multiple at once.
Oh, well, he gets like all of them out at the same time, and they're all talking to each other. I mean,
it doesn't even make sense, and he still has to carry a conversation himself. And the way that he just like does each voice, and he'll just do like just lightning quick back and forth, have full on conversations. The fact, silence, I'll kill you, you know, and just stuff like that, you know. And oh man,
I mean, whenever Peanut and Jose go at it, it's just they turn it into an Abbott and Costello routine between Jeff, Peanut, and Jose, and you're like, you're all the same damn person. I mean,
and it makes you kind of wonder too, because like, you know, obviously when he has his some of his, you know, newer ones, like Peanut is very much just full cloth. He's just like right there, and it's like there's not much that's happening. It's basically just this.
It's a sock puppet.
Yeah. When it comes to his other puppets, he's up there, and there's different levers that he's doing for eyebrows, expressions, and stuff like that. So I think maybe, like, you know, when it comes to doing that, when Peanut and Jose, you know, Jose is just on a stick and he's just doing this, probably makes it easier. But I remember one special where he actually had, I think he had Peanut have like a little peanut or something like that. So he was doing it was insane, just absolutely insane. But I would say, like, yeah, it's probably more difficult to do, like, if you have Walter, who's more intricate, and have Peanut, because Peanut's just this. But at the same time, it's just like, it's crazy. It's just such a crazy art. Such a crazy art.
And then think about if they became a supervillain.
Exactly.
We get this. It was it was also a really interesting observation on the commentary that they made, was that, you know, you get all the original Batman villains that was made in like the 40s and the 50s, and they're all like those really old school villains. And then a lot of the Batman villains created in the 70s and 80s were basically serial killers or monsters. And that's when you get like your Zazzes, your Man Bats, your Killer Crocs, you know. And it was so weird for the Ventriloquist to be created in the late 80s, but feel like this was a character that would have been created back in the 40s.
Yeah, totally. It like fits that, you would think, but at the same time, it's like, would they have come up with this idea back then? This crazy idea of the multiple person? No, that's what's so great. I just love the layers of that. It's like, yeah, this is something that you would think that would just be like part of like the original road.
This character fits so well in the 66 series.
Totally would have worked so well if it was conjured up then. Oh yeah, it totally would have, because it just would have fit with the campy stuff and all that. Yeah, it really, because you could work it with the campy stuff. You could work it even more serious, like when it, like here. No, I totally will. But yeah, there you go, guys. Read my lips, and just a great episode. Underappreciated, definitely underappreciated. This is a good one, and man, next week season finale.
Interestingly enough, episode 65, both in production order and in air date order.
And which is?
The Worrymen. I'm not.
Yeah. It's like one of those where it's like, what is this? You're going to go out like, this is the last episode? Really? This was, this would have been a pretty good, but it's not like, when it comes
There
to
weren't
Batman
finales back then.
No,
Like,
there wasn't. That's the thing. That's what I was just getting at. It's like it's not like they were trying to leave a cliffhanger or something like that, where it's like,
no,
oh,
aired 5 days a week, and then
yeah,
you'd get like a week of like all new episodes, and then sometimes you get like 3 reruns and 2 new ones. Like it got to the point that you just tuned in and you were like, am I getting a new one or am I getting a rerun? You just didn't know.
Pretty much what it is. Pretty much what it is. So I mean, I guess if you want to call it a season finale, not really. It is. It's just the last episode of the first season. So
of the first order of it's just the last episode of the first production order.
Exactly.
They ordered 65 episodes and it just happened to be the last episode they made.
Yes. So I don't even remember this episode, to be honest. I'm sure it'll ring true.
I do, and that's why it's not terrible. I mean, we've watched bad episodes. It's just gonna be okay. That's how I remember it. It's just a okay kind of episode.
Well, it's going to be one of those, but then right after that, we're going to have that super, deluxe episode of Batman the Fan-imated stream where we talk about Mask of the Phantasm. So at least we have that to look forward to.
Yes, we have that. We get to get over this little hump, and then we're into the promised land.
No, we're into the promised land where we're going to have a good one right there. So anyways, guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, and we sure as hell did, and makes me want to watch some Jeff Dunham after this. Definitely kind of does.
I think is some of this stuff still on Netflix?
Oh, it totally is. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on Netflix, and I think his latest stuff, and if you get a chance to see him live, it's pretty awesome because he'll do crowd work also with all the stuff, and it's just the guy's a madman. And if you ever watched, like, I think there was a documentary, was it on Netflix? Maybe it was. I think there's like a little documentary about him on Netflix or somewhere where you could watch and just kind of just get his backstory, how this whole thing came to be. Because, when it came to stand-up comedy, everybody looked at him like a joke. And then all of a sudden he just took off and started winning awards. And they were like, what? In the comedy community, he even says, like, yeah, people hated me because they hated props. They hated Carrot Top. They hated him. They hated anybody who had props at one point. But it's the fact of the matter is, it was like, then it got accepted because, oh, yeah, it's unique because it's not just somebody.
It's a niche. He found his niche.
He found his niche. And there's been others too. I've seen others too that do some crazy things when it comes to singing and shit like that. I think on America's Got Talent, there was like a singing like ventriloquist, like full on going like it's a dude, female puppet, and just belting out, and it's just like, and he of course is just going, and I'm like, how is that possible? I mean, stuff like that, it's pretty crazy. Anyways, we're just really diving into the whole ventriloquist and the art of it right now. But yeah, it's a great episode, really great episode. Really enjoyed talking about it. So go ahead, Scott, promote.
Well, of course, you can find me on Twitter at ScottDC27. You can find my podcast, the DC Squadcast, wherever podcasts can be found. I can go ahead and let you know that we will be releasing several more episodes in the coming days and weeks of our Man of Steel Scene by Scene, a little sub show that we are doing, taking a little bit of break from the Batman to do a little catch up on Man of Steel. But of course, we're on Vero, Facebook, YouTube with the entire network of shows at squadcastmedia.com. I can also tease on Patreon. We have a very upcoming episode of Scott is a Dead Man update, where we will reveal all kinds of details about that Darkseid statue is coming my way in about 3 days. And also, I think I've talked some people into maybe something special having to do with a certain cartoon that came out this weekend. So patreon.com/squadcastmedia for all of that. And also, I talked about it at the end of the vodka stream, but yesterday for Batman Day, my friend Lisa over there at I Love That Movie did release my latest appearance on her podcast where we talked about Zack Snyder's Justice League. So please like and subscribe, Lisa, over at I Love That Movie podcast, and give her a listen. She deserves all the love.
There you go. Love it. And make sure you guys smash that like, thumbs up before you leave. Subscribe to the channel. If you want to become a member, hit the join button. Do all that. Everything's down below. The social media stuff, the Patreon, if you want to support that. Everything. Posted something new on the Patreon last night. All right, guys. We will talk to you next week. We'll be here. Same bat time, same bat channel. Talk to you later.